let's take a minute to look at interfaces and abstract classes. So I have a new project, and I gave this project the name CS_abstract classes. In this namespace, I have 4 classes. By default, I have the program class, and what I'm going to do is that I'm going to inherit a class called my class. So just as a reminder of inheritance, once I inherit this, I have access to all the methods that are in my class that are public or protected. And this one just has one little method that just says hello. So now that I've inherited from that, what I can do is that I need to put this inside one of my methods. Now that I've done that, what I can do is that I can create an object out of my class and call it MC1 and a new keyword, and call the constructor for that to get that started. And once I have that, now I have access to all of those methods in my class. There's only one method in there, and it is called howdy. I also have access to we always have access to the methods from the object class. So those will always be there. Those 4 will always be there. But we inherited from this, and so now if I put that in there, what I can do is that I can run that. I'll comment that out, and now if I do debug, start debugging, flashed on the screen. Let debug start without debugging. Okay. So it has hello from my class, which is just that method, that the only method that was in my class. So that's inheritance. What happens is that from time to time, you may want to have a class that you inherit from, and if it's an abstract class, what you're saying is that you will need to, you have methods in here which you will have to instantiate. And I shouldn't say instantiate. What you will have to do is that if there are abstract methods in this abstract class, then you will have to implement those methods. So here I've got a class called abstract. Declined a couple fields or variables, and here I've got a method which is abstract, which means there's no body to this. You notice that there's a semicolon on the end here instead of the method code block. That's all there is to this. And the only thing this is saying is that if this is here and you inherit this class, you have to make a method called getClassName. Doesn't matter what you put into the code block, but you have to have that in your code block. You have to have that in your class. Okay. This abstract classes can also have fields, and they can also have just regular methods. So it can have the regular things that you see in a class, but this keyword abstract So I'm going to, let me go back down to, I'm going to get rid of this, and now instead of inheriting from my class, I'm going to inherit from test abstract class, the name of that class. And here I get a red squiggly line, and it says I'm not complying with that rule. I have to have that method in this in my class. So take this out. I have to have that method in my class. So there's a shortcut here. If I hover over this, it will let me fix that automatically. So it says go ahead and implement that method, and it puts that in there for me. So get class name. Now what I do with it is up to me. I can just say okay. So maybe that's the only thing it's going to do. Okay. But I have to have that method in there. So that's what the abstract does. If one of these methods I mark as abstract inside of this abstract class, then I have to implement that in my class that I'm creating. Okay. So that's all there is to that. There's also something called an interface. Now, an interface is different from an abstract class. They're kind of related. They're kind of kissing cousins. But an interface is stricter than an abstract class. And what the interface says is that you are not allowed to create field names. So I'm not going to be able to do that. And it says that you cannot have methods with actual implemented code in them. So if I try, so right now I've got a method called getMethod, and I've got one called getName. Also, I can't say whether this is private or public or protected. If I say this is private, it will give me that red squiggly line. Won't like that. They are always public. That's one of the rules. And so if I try to create just a regular method, say void some method name, and then try to put a method body on it, it's not going to like that. So so the rules on the interface are much stricter than they are on an abstract class. Okay, so that's pretty much the difference between those two. There's some rules that, and I'll leave you a copy of this, but there are some rules that I posted up here at the top, the difference between the two, between an abstract class and an interface. But that's probably the bulk of it. So now let's inherit from, let's see, what have I got? So in my interface, I've got a method called getMethod and getName. Okay, so what I'm going to do is say that on my program, I'm not only going to inherit from abstract, the abstract class, comment here, and I'm also going to, what's the name of that? Test interface. I'm also going to inherit from test interface. Okay, so it's going to give me a red squiggly line because it says I have to implement get method and get name in here. So, and I can do the shortcut where it gives me a little pop-up hint, and it says go ahead and implement those methods in there, and it puts those in there for me. Gives me a starting point at least. So now I can go through there and whatever logic I wanted to put in there, I could. Okay. Oops, didn't mean to do that. It's returning a string. So I just need to say return some name, and the other one get method. It's void, so I can just display some values. So the point is that abstract and interfaces, they set up rules so that if you inherit from them, you have to do certain methods that you have to implement in your class. And the point of that is that it's a way of forcing anyone who inherits from this to actually use certain methods that would be required to use, that you're required to use. And so it's a way to make sure that it's being used properly. Okay, couple other points. We've gone over public. Public means, where's my class? Where's my collapse these back down. I'm going to go to my class. And my class is public. So how about if I create another class here just to and I'll call it test1, and I'm going to inherit from my class method in there. Highlight that. Hold the Alt key down and I can move that up. Okay, so I inherited from my class and that will run okay. But if I were to make this and it will work okay if I make this protected. oops, I didn't mean the class, I meant if I make this protected. Okay, so so protected means that I can use it. It can be seen anywhere. This method can be seen anywhere inside my class, and if you inherit my class, it can be seen to any class that inherits that. So if I create a my class, and then MC1 dot it. So creating a protected method, and now I inherit that class, so now I have access to that method. So the name of that method was howdy, and it has access to use that. Reformat my document, Control K, Control D. Okay. So private means it's only, if I were to make that private, oops, what did I make private? That doesn't matter. If I were to make this one instead of protected, if I made this private, then down here it would no longer have access, because it would be just private or just available within this class. There's another keyword called sealed, and sealed means that it cannot be inherited. So I'll change this back to public, and I'm going to change this to okay. So now I'm just inheriting my class. Got a class with one method in it. No problems with that. But if I seal this, I say sealed, it will seal this class up. And now, if I look down here, it says it cannot inherit this class because it's been sealed. Okay. So if there's a class that you don't want to be inherited, you can seal that. Okay. I think that's it.